Well, hello to all of you beautiful and handsome nerds. I'm No02. Thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it. This is the walkthrough for the second checkpoint in Act 2. Strap yourselves in. This is going to be a long one. This is the first instance. This is the first instance where we have 5 missions in order to complete this checkpoint. We have to complete 5 missions in a row with only 2 tries in order to get Heralds of the Worm as our next checkpoint here. And we'll have a 5 mission checkpoint in Act 3 as well. But that sort of in itself is naturally frustrating because you have to play through basically a lot of content in order to make progress in the game. Now, there is some nice tips and tricks here, right? This walkthrough is going to be showing in theory some cool ways that you can deal with each map specific uh, tricks and things like that you can do. I think Pipe Cleaners is actually a really nice map as far as me being able to demonstrate some of those things. Use a solo queue deck here. Where there's some really nice things that we can sort of manipulate the game, and we have cards set up very specifically to deal with certain problems, and one of them is on Pipe Cleaners here. A lot of the other maps aren't going to have that until we get to Broken Bird, where there's actually a little trick that you can do with the crates and how we can maneuver and manipulate the bots in order for us to get a really fast crate early on. So Pipe Cleaners is a glorified hallway map, a map that can be relatively easy for the most part or incredibly hard.
I don't like the look of where this
Now,
is going.
in this map, mute Phelps here. Now on this map, I would actually highly recommend that at least one player on your team have a toolkit. Um, when we're going through these things, we're always trying to take into consideration who our teammates are. And we're either going to have people who want to play normal, people who want to speed run, people who are grenade cheating, or we're going to have bots. And I think regardless of the circumstance, you're pretty much always going to want a toolkit because it's going to make this map significantly easier when you get to the toolkit room.
I'm ready.
So as you open up, pretty simple. Just some things can be here, right? Some things can be here. Nightmare mode, typically there'll just be zombies lining all these walls and things like that. Almost always a sleeper right there. Now, this is an area where I tend to preach loot less. Don't loot unless you have to. Only loot the things on your path. This is an area where I'll actually loot and clear all of the tunnels here. Just because if you walk up the center tunnel, shooting your guns and doing things, and if anything happens, you're like running back and forth and shooting a mutation and running, right? There's all these zombies in the side tunnels, and if you're in the center shooting your gun, you're going to aggro them, and then they're gonna pathfind around the tunnels. They're gonna flank you. They're gonna show up at times that you don't, when you think you're safe and things like that. So I think it's safer and better to actually very quickly clear out all of these tunnels, and we get to loot the extra tunnels. Most of the loot is in these side tunnels. This door being here is good RNG because it gives us a better angle to get into this first tunnel. In Nightmare mode, it's pretty consistent. You just shoot, right? Get the zombies to remove the alert status on it, and then we can kill it. Almost always a sleeper in here. Here. Always one sleeper in here, as far as I can tell. And then always loot in this room as well. But the path that I take to clear all these side tunnels utilizes that technique that I like to call like leapfrogging, where basically once we're here, we have a long line of sight. It's a long hallway, so we can shoot all of the zombies that are standing down there. We don't need to kill them. We just need to aggro them, and as they run closer to us, our teammates or our bots will kill them more easily, or as they get closer, we can one-tap them in the head, so it doesn't take that much ammo. It's pretty safe as far as that regards go. We just clear this whole tunnel that we can see by pulling them towards us. Once we get into here, and if this door isn't here, basically you get to this point, Then you have to shoot your gun a little bit back up, pull zombies towards you. Once it's clear, right? Once it's clear, then we would run into this room, kill the sleeper, and we're back right here, right? And again, now we have a really long line of sight to shoot and clear zombies that are in the tunnel. A lot of wretches. Of course, this is happening because we're dilly-dallying here, right? But again, now we have this long line of sight to clear all the zombies. Throwables by your bot teammates don't hurt you.
I feel like this is the wrong
Now we
way.
get here, again, long line of sight.
The wrong way.
Shoot to aggro all the zombies. They'll run towards us. Our teammates will kill them, or they get close enough that we can one-shot them. Now we're here. Long line of sight. Clear the opposing tunnel. Pull all the zombies over, get it all nice and cleaned up. And now we're here, right? Now we can loot what we saw. We've cleared all the side tunnels. Nothing should be really spawning behind us except for mutations at this point. And now we can have the luxury of going in here, shooting all the zombies, backing up, pulling them towards us, clearing out the room, and then climbing up. I've never seen a sleeper spawn here before, but sometimes a sleeper will spawn right there, so be aware of that. And there can be loot in the side room and stuff like that, but I usually just leave it alone. We're gonna shoot the door. This is the handle. It's important to know about this gate, is that this gate will go up, and when it does, it calls a horde, as you all know. But eventually the gate will drop back down, which is something that I didn't know. And so I've gotten to this point where I opened the gate, held off the whole horde, got down here and the gate was closed, and I had to do a horde again. So just be aware of that. Now, one thing I want to mention is that we have fire in the hole. So if you watched it and are using my solo to act, my Act-2 solo deck, we have fire in the hole, and we pick it on this map. And it's actually a very specific thing. It's for this part exactly. We have fire in the hole for exactly this part. I like to use grenades. It's fine to use pipe bombs here. Pipe bombs will be a little bit safer for your bot teammates and things like that. And typically, if you use a pipe bomb, usually everyone can get through safely. The grenade is a little more speed running, but a little more snappier, and the grenade is going to offer us the ability to hold out in corners later on in the map, where pipe bombs, we will run into trouble killing mutations despite having a decent holdout spot. Because it's easier to hold out against the common zombies when you have a corner, right? Once you have a corner, you don't need a pipe bomb anymore. But when you're in a corner, you need a grenade. Anyways, though, what I would recommend for this part is actually everyone jump down here. All of your teammates, your human teammates, everyone's down here. Now, if we have bots, then we're not really concerned about the pressure, right? But at this point, we just get here, we would throw our grenade or pipe bomb, and then we would run to here. So very specific pathing, right? Very specific pathing as far as how we clear the tunnels up into this point, taking advantage of the line of sight. But here in this room now, which is a horribly open room, standing in this mush slows us down movement speed-wise. So we have fire in the hole, so that when we throw a grenade at that gate to force our way into this room, the burst of movement speed will compensate for us being in the water. And we are going to run to this corner here. I recommend the right side or the left side. This room has these dry inlets, and there's two of them.
What is this stuff?
And there's two on the other side as well. Both sides have some loot and gear and things like that and whatnot. Just be aware that on Nightmare mode, there's almost always going to be a sleeper somewhere on this wall. But the reason why we do this so forcibly... Oh, Nightmare mode isn't close. In Nightmare mode, this closes. Just so you know. You can see the other outlet. This is actually shorter distance, but the reason why I like right is because right is shorter to the slide.
Lights on.
And the whole point that we're forcing our way in is that there's going to be a horde spawning out here. And once this opens up, part of that horde is also spawning from here, and you actually get pinched, and it can be really, really hard to get through this gate, even with a pipe bomb. Because if you throw the pipe bomb in the wrong place, you're still going to have zombies running and blocking your way. So if you have everyone grouped up here like you're going to breach and clear, throw your grenade, blow up the zombies that are right here, and then you can push your way through, jump, clear the sleepers, and you run all the way to this point right here. And now you can stabilize right here. Wait out the horde and etc. And in Nightmare Mode 2, I want to point out that when that gate closes in Nightmare Mode, as far as I can tell, it summons another horde. Pretty sure it summons a second horde, but there's no audio cue for it. And so just that very quick, fast, decisive movement, you get all 4 players to this little inlet as quickly as possible. You can restabilize here and hold out the horde. And that's sort of a more normal, standard way that you could play this. If you want a speedy zoom or your team wants to run through this area, because once you do stabilize in here, and the horde subsides, the game is going to populate the second half of this room with common zombies. We get spawn-ins, right, or idle zombies. So you can do the same thing of throwing a pipe bomb or a grenade and initially blowing your way in here, and then you can just take this path and you can run, take advantage of your extra movement speed from firing the hole and run all the way to the tunnel. Because this is actually a pretty decent area to sort of force the issue and run through, just because this is a horrible place to fight. Very dangerous. Because our only place for cover and good positioning against the horde are these shallow, just these shallow, dry places. On the edge, and on the other edge too, for the left side, there is this dry pathway that you can get on. I recommend standing on it because you get your full movement speed back. And it'll lead you right up to the slide. Left or right doesn't really matter. I would say if you're going to, when you get to the slide, pick left or right, and then just do left or do that same path over and over again. As you're grinding this map out, just pick left or right and always then stick to it, because then you will start to get a feel for it and memorize it, and just sort of understand how it works. Oh, actually, you know what? I remember why we do right over left.
Can we go again? Can we?
I'm going to redact that. Always do right. Always do the right path. Also in life. You can't see it here, but I'll demonstrate it here. So in this room and on the other room here in the waterfall, a sleeper can spawn. In this room, the sleeper spawns right there. I have never seen a sleeper spawn anywhere else on this right path. So when you are falling out of the waterfall, you can typically see the sleeper as you're about to land and you can shoot it. On the left side, though, the sleeper spawns in the waterfall. Literally right here, but on the other side. And so the issue is with taking the left path is, as you're coming out of the waterfall, you need to look down or look backwards and look backwards, so as you slide out of the waterfall, you can look and see if the sleeper's there. And a lot of the times, there's going to be random zombies standing in this area. So you have to come out of the waterfall backwards and aim at the sleeper if it's there, and then have to turn and face threats. So the left side is actually more dangerous as you come out of the waterfall, and the right side is safer because you can see the sleeper right away. Keep in mind, too, that all of these little holes, these little manhole things, because, you know, manholes 5 feet apart, makes sense, are spawn points. Mutations and common zombies will jump down from these places. So even though this feels like we have a nice long line of sight, it's actually relatively close.
What the hell?
Come on, kid.
So not a great place to fight in general, but
It was an accident.
better than nothing. Oh, I was going to say, as far as I can tell, there's almost always a sleeper that spawns right there.
Dentist event.
In Nightmare Mode, that sleeper's there constantly.
Nice.
Pressure over there. I've been trying to do all my life.
And this is sort of the part of pipe cleaners where I think a lot of teams end up dying or falling apart, is getting through this room right here. A lot of zombies right here. We have a path behind us that can spawn things relatively close to us, right behind us, so it's easy to get flanked here. very easy to get flanked here. And there's lots of zombies, so I would recommend that if you can, all 4 players quickly run into here. That's going to naturally pull and aggro some zombies that you run by, and they'll run to you. And as you shoot your guns, more zombies will be aggroed and pulled to you. And from here, you can shoot things and pull them towards you as well. And you have a nice solid back. Not the most depth as far as the hallway goes, what we would want. But of course, now if we have grenades, and somebody's running bomb squad, or just in general if you have grenades, you'll be able to deal with any tall boy or high health thing that shows up as you hold out in your corner. And of course, loot can spawn in this room as well. Extra grenade, sweet.
Firecracker.
Keep in mind that when you're on this high ground, you can still be punched by things down here.
Did you see that?
But I would recommend that you get up on the high ground. Because if in the event that you end up needing to run, you're going to want to be in the high ground, and then you can run and jump. Run and jump. Just stick on the high ground.
Well, let's do this.
In the head.
And you just loot freely. And this is really just the part where it would be best to move as quickly as you can. Because again, all these holes in the ceiling are spawn points. So at this point, we're really not anywhere too safe. I've never seen anything jump down from there, but I wouldn't be surprised, you know what I mean? And now we're here. And again, a little hallway, but I think things can spawn from here. So not a great place.
Shotgun here.
Gun's no good without me.
And this is why we have the toolkit, is specifically for this point. This tunnel is death. It's a nice long tunnel. You would think it would be pretty easy to hold out in the center of it. It can be with 2 players looking each way, but if you have a wretch, or a stinger, or a hawker, anything with range that shows up, you have no place to go. You move super slow in this hallway because of the water. So if you're trying to run, or if there's a horde chasing you, once you get to this tunnel, you just don't have enough stamina to keep up pace. And once you're in the tunnel, typically the game will start spawning things behind you and in front of you, and it just becomes a nightmare. It becomes a pain in the butt. But this toolkit room, as you know,
Handgun.
offers us an alternative path. And this path is critical.
Grenade!
And usually there's, almost always I find some, at least one throwable in this room. A lot of times some medicine, of course money, and gun spawns, and things can spawn up here. And if we sort of find ourselves in a really, like, way more naturally defendable place. One player can be up here shooting the ladder, because zombies will only climb up right here. And then we have a really long hallway right here where players can hold off anything that jumps up here, because you can be attacked from this angle while in the safe room. So just keep that in mind.
Hot damn, that stinks. Nice!
Molotov!
But of course, now this leads us to here.
That does not
Check
sound
for a
good.
sleeper.
I got this.
Then we can jump this way.
Watch out, Stinger! Engaging Britain!
Reloading! Hey, cat!
Keep in mind that a sleeper can spawn right here on the waterfall, and it can get you mid-jump, so just be wary. Then we jump here. And now we're at the final holdout spot. This holdout spot is similar to Paint Train with the sand trap, as far as we just need to hold out for like about 37-ish seconds. A rough 37.
I think they like me a little too much.
But there's actually a really nice trick that we can do in this room. Here we have like a sort of
Give me a minute.
like an infinite loop. We have a loop and a
SMG
half.
Here. Gotta patch myself up.
So I recommend highly that when you start the button, you and your team can sort of stand right here. Now, of course, we're vulnerable to wretches and stingers if they get the jump on us. Again,
Too much stuff.
this would be a great place to use your grenades. Instead of having to shoot it and risk getting vomited and forced out of your spot, you can just throw a grenade at it. If you have that luxury still. The reason why I like this spot is, for one, nothing will climb up right here. This ledge is not climbable by the zombies or by mutations. They will run up the stairs and run up and all the way around You can have one player literally
There.
standing right here just killing zombies on a loop.
Here, let me help you.
Thanks, Hank.
It's all over me.
You, though, can actually climb up here. Another thing, too, is if you have a player who's standing sort of on this ledge, not right on the ledge, zombies
Over there.
will run underneath you. The access point to get us
Stand
is the
still.
staircase
Let me catch you up, will ya?
and right here. That's the only two ways up on this platform. And so when we're standing right here, the zombie AI kind of bugs out, and you'll have
What's that?
5 or 6 or 7 or 10 zombies just sort of running back and forth underneath you, not climbing up, not doing anything useful. Very, very nice. And then, of course, then you just need to look one direction and shoot there. Because even the zombies that have to run all the way up, run to here. So it's all about holding that square right there. Very, very, very easy. Just enough space for us to deal with zombies and reload and repeat. Now, if a mutation does show up, like a tall boy climbing up or a stalker climbing up and things like that, and you don't have a grenade to deal with it, we can do what I like to talk about infinite loops. But this loop doesn't really have a nice way of us getting back here, so it's like a loop and a half. Right? But basically, the pathing is, we're getting overwhelmed. Most of the threats are coming from this direction. Also, a med cabinet can spawn right here, so it's kind of nice for as far as like fighting and then maybe healing. All the threats are right here.
There.
We can
Have
jump
you
down,
fixed up soon.
Much appreciated.
jump through this window, jump through here, and then we jump over here. And then you get up here. And now we're on a new high ground. The only way up is this staircase. This sort of offers more cover. This is also actually a decent holdout spot, so if you don't like the spot that I offer up here, you can also just set up right here as well, because you just have this staircase. And you have like cover from wretches. I think wretches go through this, but you have cover from some ranged things
Hold
and stuff
still.
like that. And
I
of
owe
course
you
another
one.
health cabinet
Always feels good when I see a first aid
and supplies
cabinet.
will spawn up here.
Except when I need it.
When you start to get overwhelmed over here, again, you can sort of jump down. But again, we don't have a really clean path
This is
all the
gonna
way
get
back
messy
except
one
for
of us.
climbing
Just
up.
hoping it's you.
But typically you can just
Got what you need
Jump.
right here.
jump. And most of that path through that platform will be empty because most of the zombies will be on that particular platform hallway trying to get us.
Let's do this.
Oh yeah.
So hopefully we can just example it here. So just watch out for ranged things that are trying to get you, that are trying to range you up. And on Nightmare mode it's more prevalent because there's more zombies.
SMG.
Over there.
But you can just sort of see how like the AI bugs out
SMG over here.
while you're sitting right here in this corner. Just doesn't quite understand how to get you. The occasional zombie will figure it out and climb their way up. Just be careful not to fall off. I think part of it too is that only so many zombies can climb up the pole at once. And so they're sort of bugged out waiting for their turn. And again, we're just waiting about 37 seconds. And when it's all said and done, a lot of times you can just sort of shoot your way and just run down. Just run down. Grab your loot. Climb your ladder. And etc. And then make your jump.
Right about now. There.
And that's it. That's pipe cleaners, right? So you got the nice little strat that you can do at the first gate with the fire in the hole and grenades or pipe bombs and get to a nice stabilization corner, and then you can proceed as you want. You want to take the right path. The right path. When you're going down the slide, you take the right path because it's easier as far as dealing with a potential sleeper there. Just safer in general. You want the toolkit because it's way, way better than taking that hallway of death. And then you can hold out on that platform or the other platform, either way. As we're loading up here, I need to be right back. My 1-year-old child has woken up and I need to deal with that. And now for Hinterland. Hinterland actually starts off as a really, really easy map because we have so much open space.
I've heard people talking about this area.
One thing about open space, right? You know, we have grenades and we have pipe bombs, and they obviously one deals with the horde, one can kill mutations really easily, things like that, right? Items and equipment that we have counter problems that we face in the game. But another generalization that we can do is in open space, we can kite tall boys and wretches and reekers almost infinitely. And pretty much without any extra stamina cards, you can kite all the mutations. Right? The only issue with open area is dealing with stingers and hawkers. So we can say confined spaces like a hallway or a room allow us to funnel common zombies, so closed spaces counter common zombies, open spaces counter mutations. Hinterland starts off very, very open. We have tons of space to deal with mutations and things like that. One issue that I want to point out with that, though, is that if you have bots as teammates, bots don't know how to kite. Bots don't know how to shoot and scoot. Bots aren't going to run away from a tall boy unless... Right, the only thing that determines where a bot is moving to, or if they're moving at all, is if I'm moving. But if they're moving, they're not shooting. Here we can just... do the very simple shoot. Just shoot a little bit. Then I would recommend breaking out onto the left. We have a breaker. This is like the best case scenario as far as where you get the breaker at on the map. Because again, we have plenty of open space to deal with and fight the breaker.
That was an accident. I swear, it was an accident.
Just as a generalization, if you're fighting like a breaker or a tall boy in the middle of a horde, right, or like if you're trying to run around or kite things, I recommend that you kill all the little guys first before you deal with the breaker. Because if you think about it, the breaker is health. The breaker is a tank. Oh, that didn't work. But typically we have lots of area here to just sort of move around and dodge and evade. So even on Nightmare mode, this spot typically isn't an issue as far as fighting the breaker.
Hey, Hope One.
But yeah, with all this open space, we have a little bit of verticality, we can jump up and down and etc.
We're gonna secure
So
that
not a
cargo
problem.
for Hope.
And so Hinterland
Just need that
starts
cop
off
of yours
very,
to pick us
very
all up when
open.
we're done.
Pretty dang easy as far as
Just try not to die in the process.
as far as dealing with
We're
things.
short on personnel as it is. Hope one out.
Can get caught out in the open against a hawker or stinger, right? But not always. Get here, we'll just shoot a little bit, pull as much as we can, do the little leapfrog strategy, and push forward. Really not too much to talk about here. If you can get up here, just be aware that zombies can spawn over this hill.
Gotta reload.
And there's loot and whatnot. No big deal. One thing that I do want to point out here, I'm going to shoot this wretch. Right, and he's climbing up at this bridge over here. I have noticed sometimes mutations despawning when they climb up, but I don't really know what that is. I don't know how to tell you definitively how to do it, what circumstances need to be met.
You okay, home?
But I've had instances where I've shot and aggroed like a tall boy and a wretch and then a hunter, and they all climb up at the relatively the same time. And then like one of them would disappear and just not be there anymore. So I don't know.
My parents.
There's really not a whole much to talk about here other than that if you walk down and hug this corner, a lot of times I sort of fell off the side too much, but if you fall down and sort of hug this corner,
Hell, I'm still running.
like walk into the
It's not
corner,
away anymore.
you can
They
typically
were
fall down and
the
not take
family.
any fall damage.
I should have.
We all wish
You
we
can also
could've done
run
something
off
different.
the edge right there and land on
Truth
top of
is,
this car and not take
past
any
is
fall
gone.
damage.
Got to move forward now. For all those we lost.
Again, just repeat the leapfrog technique and we move on. It's sort of like, unlike pipe cleaners, there's nothing like super fancy, nothing like sort of niche as far as how we deal with particular problems. It's just going to be about good fundamentals over the course of a long map. Till we get to here. Money can spawn over here, and etc. And jump up here. Now I will say that this is an area that I would recommend you just don't loot. You just move on. Because I feel like this is an area where there's a lot of loot and there's a lot of birds and zombies are walking around. This is an area where you really get slowed down. But you can just, I would say, climb on the high ground, climb up, jump over here. You get a lay of the land. You can shoot some random zombies. Beware not to shoot the birds. Pull them over to you. You can deal with the zombies that you pulled over. And etc. And etc. Just because it just feels so dangerous to linger in this area. There's also no like super good holdout spot. Things can jump down. This is pretty shallow, not a lot going on, and the bots don't like to run in there. A lot of the times.
You did that too, right?
One thing that you can do that I noticed, you can jump from here to here. So we got a little infinite loop going on here for you to deal with the horde, and that's probably honest, and that's honestly the best place in this whole area to deal with the horde and fight the horde. Crap ton of birds here, even on Nightmare. Actually, I recommend you just crouch, walk through the center. Don't shoot anything.
Let's kill these motherfuckers.
You can just walk through all of them. Sort of, you know, nothing too super precise. Just eyeball it. What seems to be roughly in the middle. And then you move on. Sleeper there, obviously. So be wary. And then once we're up here, we can shoot things, aggro zombies, and move on. And we can sort of see that we've gone for the nice open area that Hinterland begins as.
Ammo for you.
And it becomes increasingly more cramped, sort of escalating at this flooded warehouse that we're about to get to. There were sleepers on the truck. A little campground over here where zombies like to take a nap and hide your loot. And sleeper there. Sleeper can spawn here, I think, or here. Sleeper spawns over there.
Let's go! Hey, cat! The movies are right. Shoot it in the head. And maybe a couple more times just to
Crusher was confused. Yeah, just be wary. Like, this corner here isn't super great to hold out in. But we do just have a very simple line of sight on zombies and mutations dropping down, and then things over here. As you can see, this car is blow-upable. You can blow this car up. What's important to note, though, and there's some other cars on this map as well that I'll try to shoot and demonstrate. When you shoot this car, you don't get a hit marker. So for a long time, I didn't think you can blow this car up. But you can. Believe in yourself. One thing that I want to point out here at this door is pretty much always alarmed. That is the horde that got triggered. The common technique is, right, you shoot your gun to try and aggro zombies come and hit this door. It's important to note, though, that zombies and mutations can climb through this window. So, if you do shoot your gun and you can see a zombie has been aggroed, be sure that you stand on the right side of the door because the zombie's trying to pathfind to you. So if the shortest path to get you is climbing through this window and not going through this door, the zombie will climb through the window and not hit the door that you need to have the alarm removed from, right? So I've had an instance where I shot this bathroom door to open it up. Zombies came out of it. And then I just stood here. And the zombies walked right past this alarm door, climbed through the window, and I had to kill them. I then could not get another zombie to come to this door, so I ended up having to shoot this alarmed door. So just be aware of that. Make sure that the path between you and the zombie goes through the door and not through the window, because otherwise it won't break the window down for you.
You're in big trouble once you get the...
You need this more than I
Thanks for the ammo, Mom. Appreciate it. And you can shoot through this fence, so like if a horde event is happening, somebody could actually just spray through the fence and kill things as they're trying to climb up. And now we're in a very confined space. Remember, everything, all these doors are spawn points. There's zombies typically lying in the water. One thing that we can do to make this area easier is you can run up this. You don't need to jump on top of this, so you can sprint and run up this and jump off of this, and then jump over here, and then jump over this, and jump out of that. You can sort of keep out of the water, keep decent movement speed as you jump from those little, like we're skipping stones sort of thing, and get on the high ground. And then typically only the things that are climbing up have to climb up sort of over there. So this would be a really, really good place to stabilize in here. And we have an almost infinite loop right by jumping over here. We get overwhelmed, we can jump over here. Get overwhelmed, we can jump back. And of course then, this is the deck that I normally use. So you can make these jumps without a buttload of movement speed. You need a little bit of extra movement speed to make these jumps. And you can mess them up, of course. But if we really needed to, we do have a little infinite loop going on here. So nice place to stabilize in the warehouse. Otherwise, this corner is best case scenario. Second best case scenario, because you can aim here and aim there. Because I don't think zombies crawl through this particular door.
Better be.
This is an area where I would recommend you sort of bust out of as quickly as possible. This right here is a car that doesn't have a hit marker when you shoot it, but it blows up anyways. Things will climb over this fence, but if you're going to get out of the warehouse with your team following you, then you can sort of break out and stabilize here, or make a run for it up the staircase. Another option is you can climb through this window. It's typically a pain in the butt because there's all kinds of crap standing here. But this house is a nice place to hold out on top of as well if you find yourself in that scenario. But of course, you're vulnerable to ranged things. And you would just stand here and then everything climbs up right there. And then if you get overwhelmed, you can jump down. Keep in mind too that similar to like the handyman, and the parking structure in Call to Arms, this right here is a spawn point. Mutations and zombies will crawl out of this in your line of sight, sort of breaking the game director's rule of not spawning things next to you. Of course, loot and stuff can be here. Beware of that, etc. 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 One thing that I do like about this area here that you might want to utilize is actually this huge room. This super duper huge room. Look how far away we have. And look how much space we have, left and right. There's enough space in this room that if a wretch showed up, somebody was holding out right here and a wretch started vomiting, you'd have enough space to move all the way to the right and not be in acid and still hold the door. So this is an incredible holdout spot. This is a thing of beauty. Thing of beauty. I think a wretch is coming right now. So I recommend that if you're doing this if you're going to do this final part of Hinterland, like a normal standardy way, a holdout sort of sense, you do it in this room. And typically I would recommend you have 2 players hold this room, or 2 players standing out here. 2 players guarding this space. And then 2 players go into the Thunderdome. Okay, we'll get out of here. We'll go to our little holdout space here. Because the only issue with getting into this room
Much appreciated.
The only issue of getting into this room is that things will spawn and jump down in front of us. So we typically want
Come on, kids.
players right here guarding this space. But if you can get all 4 players into this room as the horde event is happening,
Ammo here.
you're golden. You're not going to die. You have so much space and open area to work with
I'm down.
Here we
in
go.
that holdout
homie.
zone. It can just be a little tricky to get into once you've triggered it, especially
I mean,
if
we're not keeping score here, right?
especially when you're shooting the nodes.
Come on, this way.
Typically, though,
Need to patch myself up.
when you have players who are out here killing the nodes, most of the spawns are happening in this little arena anyways. So one thing that will probably work, but I haven't really ever had the opportunity to test it out, is moving as a team, having all 4 players come out here and destroy the nodes. And then once you destroy a node, all 4 players then retreat back to that holdout room. Because then the game's not going to really spawn things over there because nobody is over there. It's going to spawn things around the players. So you can kill the node, hang out here for a little bit, run to the holdout spot, and chances are it'll be pretty easy to get into. The other option, as far as holding out in this area, is actually up here. This is not too bad. Pretty decent. We have an escape route if we get overwhelmed. We're vulnerable to ranged things if that happens, especially wretches. If they vomit up here, then you have to bail out. But for the most part, this is about as good as it
Ammo
gets.
for you. Ammo over here.
Maybe second best in this particular area would be this room here. Not ideal, but decent distance from our threat. Though mutations will crawl in, and yeah, door of course as well.
Ammo here.
So not a bad place to hold out at all.
Nice.
But if anything goes wrong, if a wretch gets in here and starts vomiting all over the place, you do have some space to maneuver to. But you're pretty much trapped in this room if this is where you choose to go. Same thing with that room over there, but it's just longer distance. So getting trapped is less likely because
Wonder what's in here.
chances are you can have enough space to kill things before they become dangerous. And then again, of course, you just stack the nodes if you can. This is also a decent room to hold out in, but same problem of there is no escape route really.
Well, let's do this.
I wouldn't do this to just anybody. What I'm saying is,
I think I waited a little too long as far as stacking the nodes go.
get his nuts. They look bad, but hey,
Now, as far as movement goes in this area, if you're not necessarily going to be playing it the normal way, you're going to sort of doing some sort of speed running strat thing.
that was an accident. I swear, it was an accident.
Here, take this.
You are going to want to just basically run around in circles. But essentially, if you have the opportunity to,
Next time.
before you start destroying the nodes and destroying the nodes and causing the horde in, I recommend you open up these doors if they're not alarmed, or try to get them unalarmed by the ridden if possible. Open up these doors, destroy the things, clear all your sleepers, clear this space out, and open it up for yourself. I would even recommend shooting this door off, because sometimes you want to run this way as opposed to left and things like that. Grab all the propane stuff. There's usually propane here, gas tanks, extra propane. If you're going to be doing the sort of speed running strats here, you can a lot of times set it up right here and then kite things out. And you get a nice little choke point. Because again, just as a generality, the game director is going to spawn things around you. So if you're the only person alive, and you're killing nodes in here, the game is going to be spawning things in this arena. If you can linger a little bit, run around, kite some stuff around, you can go over here, shoot this car, blow up a tall boy. Right? Try to stay in this area for as long as possible, because the game will then spawn the entirety of the horde in this area. I don't know how long that takes. Just eyeball it. It's not an exact science, but once that happens, roughly,
Need to take care of
then
this.
you can run out here, right? Once it starts getting crowded in there, you can no longer like safely, right? It starts getting sketchy. You can run out here. Run out here, and we have our little stockpile of things. We can grab a tank. We can light it on fire to kill the commons. A tall boy is getting close. We throw it and we blow him up. And you can actually just hold off the entire horde yourself by just using some on-map blow-uppables. I don't know what you call them. Propanees. One thing to note as well is that you can climb up here before you destroy the node. And so it might feel natural to sort of be at a distance and you shoot it up a little bit and oh, you right, jump away, or things are chasing you and you kill things and you reset and open up some space and things like that, right? But once you're fairly certain that you can just go for it, you don't need to be shooting it on the way. You can jump up here, unload your old magazine, and then you're good to go.
But at least you don't have to look at what's killing you. Let's go! Let's do this!
This second floor is rather big. It's got some loot, and
Hear that?
look at this corner. Like, so in a weird sense, if you're not going to make a mad dash for the safe room that's literally right there, you want to stabilize and loot the area.
Supply crate over
You
here.
can do it here, though I would recommend you just go for the safe room. Don't risk literally everything for what? Some barbed wire? A bandage?
Razor wire.
Is it really worth it if you lose the whole round because you got an extra bandage in, right? So I would recommend that you just sort of go for it. But the exact pathing, though, I would recommend, if you want to play it super safe, but as far as dealing with sleepers, but risky as far as dealing with zombies, you would drop down right here. And then you get an angle on this whole entire wall as far as dealing with the sleepers.
Just give me a minute.
But once you make any noise, all the zombies are going to be in your path. The route that I would recommend is, we've popped the nest, we've jumped up here. I would recommend this right here. Run in front of this box towards this ladder. If there's a sleeper there, we can see it. We would pop that sleeper, and I would recommend running down like this. Just like that. But before you even jump down, you can run right here, shoot that, and even just lap this whole thing. Not a huge deal. Not a huge deal, because if we're running around the outside of this, the zombies that are chasing us from over here are going to be pathfinding on this right here. They're going to be on the same level as we are. When we're up here shooting our gun, killing a sleeper, right? And then checking for another sleeper that can spawn right there. The zombies that are down here are going to be climbing up. And so by the time we get to this point and we've killed all the sleepers, we secure the room, we can drop down and go for it. Right? And so I just want to clarify that little bit of movement. We've killed the nest. We're running over here. We were in front of these boxes. Sleeper. We can run all the way around. Sleeper. Sleeper. So just be careful that you don't get to this point and be slow about it. Like, you get to this corner, you stop sprinting, and then you look, and then you shoot it. And you might evaluate that all the zombies are now running to this ladder. You can just go for it. You can just go for it. and that's Hinterland. Sort of this like starts off really easy, and as you get towards the end, it gets way more intense, way more cramped, and etc. Trailer trashed. Now this is a map that I think is begging to be speedran. This map basically starts off with you playing, I think, in a normal way. Very easy to play in a normal way at the start. And we have the extra movement speed here simply because we need to deal with the water as far as running through this map. One thing that I've learned that's sort of interesting, check this safe room. Check the safe room out for loot. Because I've actually encountered bandages
You see that?
right there and a Molotov up there. So just check this room when you enter it. This might be an interesting room to play around with, like a scavenger card, medical or offensive, because
There.
loot will spawn in this room. And I don't know if there's more loot spawns or not that are possible. But just something to keep in mind. Now, there's two things here that I want to sort of show and demonstrate. Just basic fundamentals, and the one that we've already seen that I've talked about is this leapfrogging technique. We'll open the door, we'll get out there, we'll shoot all the zombies that we can see, they'll run towards us, we'll kill them, and then we'll repeat that process as we make progress towards the boat that we need to untie at this part. One thing too though is that speedrunning is quite successful because
They're all around me.
the game doesn't populate this second half of the map here with zombies if we just run. If we were to take the time to shoot the zombies in that area and leapfrog our way here, this area would be populated with zombies. So with bots, I would actually recommend that you just run this part. The bots are more than capable of handling the zombies that spawn there. A lot of times they'll teleport through you, and you can get here with all 4 bots relatively healthy, not a big deal. Just something to keep in mind if you're playing this solo. If you're playing with players, then, you know, not a big deal. And it's a nice long hallway, basically. You can see almost all the way down to shoot and aggro things and etc. Keep in mind the sleeper right here, loot in this room, and that this is a spawn point. So then let's begin. This triggers a horde. I recommend that as the horde is triggering, that you untie the boat.
Bandages here.
Untie the boat.
Sniper rifle here.
I played around with not untying the boat. Thinking that maybe not untying the boat would cause zombies to not spawn over there, but it doesn't really seem to have any effect on it. The game will spawn the zombies in as the boat's going over there. I've tried playing around with like staring at that area, see if that'll prevent zombies from spawning in. The game will just spawn them in front of you a lot of the times. And that's it. And again, you know, when this horde event happens, there's usually a bunch of cans out here, red barrels. Definitely want to utilize them. As you saw here, those 3 red cans trigger each other. So if the red can is in the middle, I think that's actually bad RNG. Because it takes what could have been 2 cans and turns it into 1, basically. Because you trigger all 3 at once.
You hear?
It can be a little hard to time that perfectly. Another option, though, as far as holding out, is this room here. Pretty decent. Loot will spawn in here, as you can see. Hold out in this room. Decent depth and lots of wide open space. You can do things and maneuver, and so long as you have grenades, not an issue. A weird backup-y, maybe like solo clutch. Everyone's dead or down, and you're trying to defend a horde off by yourself. This right here is an interesting corner. Things won't climb over this. At least I've never seen anything climb over this. Just because the pathfinding is so clearly obvious for the zombies that they're going to run this way. Right? They don't really climb up over here to try and get you. They're going to run up the stairs. You can hold out right here. Now obviously we're vulnerable. We're trapped, it would feel like, to anything with a lot of health, like a tall boy or an exploder, wretch, etc. Now if you hold the right, go right button, right? Well, I'm strafing right now. I am moving right. Because right now, if you just jump, you can climb over. It doesn't seem like you can make this jump, to me at least me visually. But if you're moving
How did
into this wall,
happen? One minute
holding down the
everything's
movement key
fine,
into
and
this
then
wall, and
this
then you
is the
jump,
new normal.
and just keep jumping. See, it's not super consistent, but eventually you'll grapple it and you'll climb over the top. And then you can actually escape. And so I just like that idea of, like, maybe you're trying to hold out until the boat's here, solo clutch something, everything's gone to total poopy, and it's just up to you. You can buy some time in that little corner, climb up, jump down, and then you're on your way to the boat.
Jump!
Now,
Yeah,
at this
isn't
point,
spooky at all.
I would highly recommend, again, that you just move with haste. You can do your best to sort of shoot zombies from a distance, get some high ground, pull them towards you, and whatnot. But you really need to move through this area as quickly as possible, because I found in multiple games us getting bogged down in this area. The game just spawned this tall boy behind this truck. It uses this truck to break our line of sight, and it will spawn things behind it, so we get flanked. And of course it'll spawn things and climb over that fence and things like that. So I actually recommend you move as quickly as possible through this area. Because if you can pull zombies towards you, and etc. But basically, we want to get to this house as quickly as possible. In Nightmare mode, it's typically alarmed, but there's usually zombies inside. And again, sort of like the zombie pathing, right? If we shoot this zombie and then run all the way over here, you can usually get a zombie who tries to punch through this door. Though, the zombies like to bug out when trying to punch that door a lot of the times, as you can see right now. Keep in mind, too, that these windows we can't get out of, but zombies can crawl inside of sometimes, I think. Let's see what the zombies... Maybe not these windows. It doesn't seem like it.
Handgun here.
Never mind, scratch that. They're going to try and get through this door, but they get clogged up at this door. I would highly recommend at this point that you just go for it. Use Speedy Zoom. What path you take, it does not matter.
You're gonna be fine, right?
But my recommendation is, this is a nightmare place to fight. All these houses are a variety of spawn points. There's sleepers everywhere. There's going to be birds, and etc. And it just becomes a really hard place to hold down. There's a lot of loot. There's a lot of temptation here. But again, just sleepers and obstacles. And no amount of loot is ever worth losing your round over. Losing our run, right? Because we're 3 levels deep into a 5 mission checkpoint. So I'd recommend that you just run. If you are going to hold out and fight in this area, again, verticality is your friend. I don't know exactly all the places where zombies and stuff can climb up, but just keep in mind that you can jump on top of these houses, fight, and when you get overwhelmed, a lot of times you can jump to the next building. And so this can be the path that you take if you want to speed run through this area, but my official recommendation is speed run through this area. Don't stay in this area. There's too much opportunity for one of your random dumb teammates to trigger some birds or get grabbed by a sleeper, and everything just goes totally south. Because remember, the counter to sleepers is memorization and vigilance. So this is such a big area. I mean, I personally haven't mapped out or memorized where all the sleepers can spawn. The sleepers don't always spawn in the same spots. They're a large variety. So again, I just recommend you just run through this area. And there's multiple paths to do it. Jump on top of houses, don't jump on top of houses, doesn't really matter. And the faster you go, the less mutations you're going to encounter. And just get to the safe room. So I think you can play Trailer Trash fairly normally at the start. Play it fair normally, loot that first area right with the boat, get all set up to open the boat up, You know what? I keep forgetting to test this. I fully admit this is my mistake. I think you can buy a toolkit and lower that gate. Maybe not. No one's ever talked about it. Maybe we'll repeat this. Maybe I'll... After the clog, maybe we'll go and check that out, do a little bit of science at the end of the video. The clog is a cool map as far as aesthetics go, but a horrible map just in general. This is, again, a map that is begging to be speedrun. It's so much easier to speedrun this map, just in general. But I'm going to buy a toolkit here. I'm going to show you. The reason why this map is so hard is because it's all open area, but again, it's sort of like a glorified hallway, which is my favorite thing to say, as you might imagine. Once you drop down, you're stuck. And one thing to note is that in this area and other areas where there's water, just keep in mind that at any point in time, your movement speed might be slowed down based off of what you're standing in.
I think they like me a little too much.
Right, so this is all nice open area. So for the most part, dealing with mutations, not a big deal. The issue that you're going to have is common zombies. There's all kinds of weird spawn points, like things will spawn like right there if they're out of your sight and jump down and things like that. And they'll come through bushes and over boats and out of whatever. And there's a lot of weird random spawn points, but there's no good corner. There's no place to put your back to and defend against the horde. So pipe bombs probably recommended.
Thinking, do they like water? Or do we like water?
There's kind of two paths here between this.
See that?
There's some extra loot that spawns over here, but all this water is death. It's all death water. And it all funnels into this right here.
Ammo pouch here.
You can sort of see, like, it's just a long open hallway. You can jump on this and sort of sit in this corner, and you watch right here, and then you have this watch all this, but it's all open. The zombies like to naturally spread apart, so just intuitively you're going to find that the common zombies are more difficult. Toolkit can spawn right there. Now we get over here, and again it's just... Now we are sort of being funneled again and just in the tight spaces. So loot and ammo can spawn right here. And you can jump over this boat. You can climb up, and you take sort of like a long way around as far as getting to the main path, which is that boat right there. Or you can take the shorter path through this thing right here. And again, this is the closest thing that we've gotten to a hallway that we can defend from. But again, there's no wall to put our back against. Just not good. There's just no good place to put your back up against and stabilize and focus and like take a breather. It's gonna be like pretty much like 360 non-stop damage, or 360 non-stop danger all around you. Things can climb over this boat, spawn on the other side of this boat. And etc. You see that wretch? We actually can't get over here. Basically, we're going to climb on top of this boat. Get the heck out of Dodge. Once you drop down, there's no going back from this point as well.
You're not there by yourself. More to the point.
Lost Holly. I'm here, hon. No lying down inside.
Well, that wretch sort of messed it up. But I was going to say, this is the first point in the map where like we sort of get an actual wall behind us. We get a place that we can hold up and put our back up and reduce our angles of danger. But it's like halfway through the map. It's pretty shallow. It's not a great place to do so. The game likes to spawn things right here.
I've got you.
I mean, we're not keeping score here, right?
And it's sort of similar to the hallway. Again, we get a nice little decent cubby. Nothing too incredible. Sorry, Walker. As far as I can tell, nothing really climbs over this crate, but beware of mutations if they do so. Again, just a semi-okay corner that you put your back against.
Team.
The reason why I got the toolkit is because there's a neat thing that we can do here. As far as I can tell, you can shoot and aggro things from over here, right? Jump and shoot things and sort of, like, sometimes you can mantle on top of this car and stuff. Right? But just beware that
Our stack.
Regis can vomit through that particular area. The reason I'm showing this off is because most of the zombies and mutations will funnel through this door. And look, this safe room is by far the best place to hold out in on the entire map. So I would recommend that on this map you have a toolkit, heal up, stabilize. You can potentially shoot and pull a little bit of the dangers. Just a little bit, aggro them up, shoot, etc.
SMG.
And then just move on. You can jump over here. I don't know if anything can spawn over here. Again, this sort of feels like a nice place that you can hold out from, but anything that pushes you or explodes or knocks you over or hawks you, you run the risk of falling into the water and dying. But just a little alternative. Right, so then you just play through this area like you normally would, right? Could, right, whatchamacallit, leapfrog through this area. You can jump up here on this verticality for a little bit of breathing room.
Covered in this shit. Calm down.
But again, it's just there's so many angles and so many threats that can be coming from any direction. So I would recommend that if you do get to the safe room, you sort of play the game in a semi-normal way. Once you get to the boat, which the boat is typically alarmed on almost all of the doors on Nightmare Mode. Once you get to the boat, you just brute force your way to the safe room. And again, this is just a map that's begging to be speedrun because if you speedrun it,
I got you.
a lot of times by the time you get to the boat, it's pretty much empty by when you get here. Not a whole lot of zombies in your way.
Over there. In the head.
And if you can just save 1 or 2 grenades when you get to the boat to this point, that'd be ideal. Shoot the door open. It's going to be alarmed in Nightmare Mode 100%. You'll get here. You'll just run. Brute force your way through. Shooting zombies in your path and etc. Here, I'll even shoot this door just to... Never mind, it's not alarmed. Zombies will be walking down the staircase. Just shoot, brute force. Don't loot the boat. Not worth it. Not worth it. We're so close to the end. Shoot zombies, throw a grenade, maybe right here, blow up this area, clear your path.
I'm giving you this on the condition you cover my ass. Nice.
Right, like you literally just throw a grenade right there as you're heading up the stairs.
Reloading.
Just brute force your way onto the boat. That would be my recommendation. So if you're gonna play this map normally, you need to move as quickly as you possibly can. Shoot things from afar, get them to you, move towards them, take that space, move super quickly because any horde that happens, any extra mutations that spawn, it's just going to be a really big drain on your supplies. And there's really no good place to hold off the horde until you get past the big blue boat that you drop down from. And even then, those places aren't super great. And it's pretty easy to get stuck, where you get stuck in one of those places to hold out, and the game's just constantly spawning things and killing you and attacking you. So move quickly. And then once you get to the boat, full speedy zoom. If the doors on the boat are on Nightmare Mode, the doors on the boat are going to be 100% alarmed. Blow them up or shoot them as quickly as possible and just sprint through the boat. Burn your grenades if you need to, don't be afraid. So we're just trying to get to Broken Bird, to this map here. But there's a really neat thing. There's sort of two neat things that we can do here. And it works on Nightmare mode. And etc. So buy your loot, pipe bombs, grenades, whatever, doesn't matter.
Yeah, gotta bounce. Aw,
And
man,
we'll do our
stuff's
thing, we'll get
everywhere.
down here. Nightmare mode, there'll be a crap ton of zombies here. Kill them out. Shouldn't take any damage. Now it is important to note that before you enter the area that's going to trigger the finale event, zombies that you kill while out here are going to sort of respawn. They're going to be wandering out from behind that bus and wandering out and crawling out of the goop and things like that. The trigger for starting this finale is about here. It's about roughly here. We walk out here. We're about 1 meter away from the trigger. And you can just sort of stand here, trigger, shoot as much things as you can. Avoid blowing that up because you're going to need that later. And etc. But the key that we're going to try and do here is that crate right there. As far as I can tell, it is always there. That crate in the center is always there. And it is always the first crate. Always the first crate. I have never experienced a Broken Bird of the probably almost 100 rounds that I've done of Broken Bird. It has always been that crate first, and it's always there in the center. I'm going to step forward. Sugar it. I recommend that you just get here as quickly as you can. Set up. Get your bots into position. Put your propane where it makes sense, and etc. Kill the mutations, and then you start hooking up. Right, because while the helicopter is present, it's going to keep calling hordes. Horde after horde after horde. Just periodically it's going to call a horde. So the idea is we're going to get to this crate first. Get it hooked up as quickly as you possibly can. Because as soon as it's as soon as it's hooked up and the helicopter leaves, the game goes, okay, no more hordes. The faster you get it hooked up, the less hordes the game is going to call. We sort of end up with this very quiet lull period.
Hey,
Now we can run around, we can loot. The only thing we need to worry about is mutations. But ideally, we need to find the next crate. Looks like there's one on the boat. The boat is bad RNG. Best RNG is crate right here, crate right there.
cover me, reloading.
That's best case scenario. But at this point, we need to loot, and then we need to go stand by one of those crates. And this is RNG, right? Which of these crates is it going to go to first? We got lucky. We got super duper lucky. Because basically, if we're playing this mission with bots, the bots are going to do more the more we stand still. And that's the case for literally every mission where we need the bots. Because if we need to go from point A to point B with the bots under pressure, the bots are going to suffer. So typically we want to get that first crate hooked up super duper fast, get rid of all the hordes, we can loot, and then we pick a crate and we stand there and we wait. And we hope the helicopter comes to us. If it does, beautiful. This mission becomes super duper easy if we get that good RNG with the helicopter coming to the crate that we're standing next to for that second crate. The next thing I want to demonstrate is, as we're attaching this hook, look at this, there's like that little animation at the end. The animation of our character like standing back to a neutral state after he hooks up the hook. Right, I'll show it again. Because we finished the bar, and there's about a second delay between finishing hooking up and before we get control of our character again. But as we finish hooking up, we get this prompt a second time. Hold E to attach the cargo hook, right? We get this prompt in the middle of that like standing back up animation. So you can't do it as far as I can tell. You can probably do it like this. You need to be in range of 2 hooks from the same position. You need to be in range of 2 hooks from the same position. So just keep that in mind. And so we're standing in a place where if I just turn left or turn right, I can hook up either one of these hooks. So in the middle of that animation where we're standing up, we can actually chain 2 hooks together, and we save like a fraction of a second, basically. Because in the middle of that animation where our character is regaining control of their body, you can hit E and hold it. So as soon as that second prompt shows up for you to hold E to hook the cargo hook, hit E and hold it while you're looking at the hook that's still left. And your character will, in the middle of that animation, start hooking up the second hook before you regain control again, and you actually save time that way. Hope that makes sense. There's a lot of hooking up going on, you know what I mean? When the breaker spawns pretty damn close to you a lot of the times. My recommendation is take the breaker as far away as possible from your next crate, which is where we are right now. Because look, we're on recruit mode, and even though I wasn't fighting super hard, right, wasn't really participating too much, you're not going to kill this breaker on nightmare mode before the helicopter returns most of the time. So basically, when you hear the prompt of we're on our way back to you, get ready to hook up the crate, start running back to the crate. And just sort of kite the breaker on the opposite side of the map. Oops, I messed up.
Don't need this no more.
I messed up.
Let me see to that.
Because in nightmare mode, you're not really going to kill the breaker in time. So keep the breaker occupied in one corner of the map that's opposite of your third crate, of your last crate. If you do these crates super fast, you get them hooked up really quickly. You can totally do this with bots on nightmare mode. I really hope to demonstrate that. I'm going to demonstrate that in the actual playthrough. But if you get a super fast first crate, you get all the time in the world to loot. You go find another crate. If you're playing with 4 people, you can even split up. You go 2 and 2 to eliminate that RNG. And then basically you just wait at the crate. If the helicopter comes to you, you're golden. You get the second crate for free because by the time the horde shows up, you're already finishing hooking up that second crate. So you get a little bit of horde, a couple of mutations, then the breaker shows up, you kill the horde, kill the mutations, kite the breaker away from your third crate,
What are we doing again?
and then when you hear the prompt to go to that third crate, then you go for it. You run there, you hook it up, again, it can be free. So Broken Bird is a map that can go from horrible to super duper easy free. Now I just want to see if we can in fact use a toolkit on that final, or on this first part here. We get any spawns? No spawns.
Gotta bounce.
Just a little bit of quick science here. You can. There you go. Toolkit on this
There.
totally works. No horde event.
Revolver here.
No problem. You untie the boat. You think you're cool. You're going to make it over here. You die. Okay. So that was the walkthrough. This is an incredibly long-winded walkthrough. I'm going to be putting lots of timestamps in it and etc. Thank you guys for watching. Lost my voice doing this video. I appreciate your time. And I'll see you in the future. Oh, hit the button. Hit the button to end it.